As Her Majesty's personal representative in Hertfordshire, and the only Jewish Lord Lieutenant in English history, with the exception of Lord Rothschild, in Buckinghamshire for a brief period in 1880, it's my great honour and privilege to have been asked by our rabbis to give a sermon today on the celebration of Her Majesty the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. The Hebrew Scriptures tell us that our allotted lifespan is 70 years and 10. Yet today we celebrate 70 years, not of a lifetime, for Her Majesty is already 96, but a reign of 70 years and 10, a lifetime of service to this great nation. The word unique is often misused. People say they've seen several unique people or they're doing several unique things. But today is really a unique occasion, for Her Majesty is the first British monarch and the first ever female monarch to have reigned for 70 years. And this morning, Celia and I were part of history when we attended the wonderful service in St. Paul's, and I might add, met and had a long chat with the Chief Rabbi. We are a truly diverse nation today. St. Paul's this morning, the Ark this evening, and tomorrow my grandson's bar mitzvah in an Orthodox shul. And what a remarkable reign Her Majesty has had. Her Majesty the Queen has visited more than 100 countries as monarch, carried out more than 21,000 engagements. She's given a royal assent to more than 4,000 acts of parliament. She's had 14 prime ministers, beginning with Winston Churchill, who was elected to parliament during the reign of her great-great-grandmother, Queen Victoria. She's hosted 112 visits, royal visits. She's currently patron of more than 500 organisations. She's sent over 300,000 congratulatory cards to people celebrating their 100th birthdays, amazing, and over 900,000 to couples celebrating their 60th diamond wedding anniversary. She's owned over 30 corgis, has conducted over 650 investitures, my own included in 2014 when Her Majesty and I discussed golf, and over 1.5 million people have attended garden parties she has hosted. Almost 70 forests of conservation projects across the Commonwealth have joined the Queen's Commonwealth Canopy, the initiative launched in 2015, representing more than 100 million trees preserved for future generations. The Queen Elizabeth Diamond Jubilee Trust has enabled over 100,000 people to have sight-saving surgery and has actually treated 22 million people. And being unique, of course, as you all know well, she is, as far as we know, the only British monarch to have parachuted into the London Olympic Stadium from a helicopter accompanied by James Bond. Queens do not feature prominently in the Jewish or Christian scriptures, perhaps because they've usually been written by men and about men. However, one notable exception was Queen Esther, who showed extraordinary courage and wisdom as she navigated her way around the intrigues of the court of the King of Persia. At a particularly challenging time when she and her compatriots were facing imminent death, Mordecai tells us, "Surely you have been made a queen for such a time as this." Well, I think those words could well have been said of Her Majesty. Surely you, Your Majesty, have been made a queen for such a time as this. During her reign, our country and the world has changed beyond recognition. Our great-grandparents or grandparents would not have imagined a world where ordinary people could take international travel for granted, and some even travel into space, where we carry powerful computers around in our pockets and communicate instantly and effortlessly around the world, where we've made huge strides in opening up equal opportunities, where medical advances can cure diseases that in former times were a death sentence. In a rapidly changing world, which so often values new over old, which sometimes confuses knowledge with wisdom, which loves novelty and often disdains the past, she's remained constant in fulfilling her role as head of state. Surely, Your Majesty, you've been made a queen for such a time as this. As head of a constitutional monarchy, the Queen has had to keep her opinions to herself. We will never know how often she must have bitten her lip or been tempted to push her own agenda, to defend or justify herself, or to correct an inaccuracy in the media, yet she's been the model of discretion. She's understood that her role is to speak for the government and the nation. For example, at the stake opening of Parliament, she reads the speech which she's given and is not allowed to ad-lib or add a few words of her own comments, much as she may have wished to. However, the one time when we really hear her voice is her annual Christmas message. Down through the decades, she has spoken powerfully and movingly of her family, of the people she's met, the charities she's visited, her support for the military, and above all, her faith. The Queen has always been clear that it is her faith which has sustained her down through the years. As she commented in her Christmas message of 2002, "I know just how much I rely on my faith to guide me through the good times and the bad. Each day is a new beginning. I know that the only way to live my life is to try to do what is right, to take the long view, to give my best in all things that every day brings, and to put my trust in God." In an era that has become increasingly secular, this strong, enduring foundation has enabled her to give herself to her duty to God and the nation. Surely, Your Majesty, you've been made a queen for such a time as this. On her 21st birthday, she pledged, "I declare before all of you that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service and the service of our great imperial family to which we all belong." The young Elizabeth would not have possibly known what a life of service was going to entail, nor could she have guessed that the great imperial family would develop into the Commonwealth of Nations. During her long reign, she spent thousands of hours reading state papers, listening, and we understand sometimes challenging her prime ministers, hosting heads of state, speaking out in times of national celebration and grief. Her words after the Munich air disaster, the Aberfan disaster, the Hillsborough disaster, and on many other occasions has brought comfort and hope to countless grieving families. Surely, Your Majesty, you've been made for a queen for such a time as this. In her Christmas message in 2007, she celebrated her diamond wedding. The Queen spoke movingly about another important foundation to her life, her family. She commented, "In my experience, the positive value of a human family is one of factors of human existence that has not changed. The immediate family of grandparents, parents and children, together with their extended family, is still the core of a thriving community." We live in a world where many are cynical about aspects of national life, including family life. The Queen, of course, knows all too well from her own experience the problems that families face today. Indeed, she has had to endure the pain of her own family life being dissected endlessly in the media. Yet despite these challenges, she has patiently supported her family and found that in mutual love, her family has supported her. Her example continues to strengthen the institution of marriage and the importance of family in every age. None of us can ever forget the photo of her sitting alone, masked in the chapel at St. George's, Windsor, for the funeral of Prince Philip. It was a poignant image of the inherent loneliness of leadership, as well as that of a wife grieving the death of a husband after 73 years of marriage. So on this Platinum Jubilee, we gather from every corner of the country to give thanks for Her Majesty's faithful service of over 70 years. And we affirm these words, "Surely, Your Majesty, you've been made for a queen for such a time as this." Before I finish, I was asked by Rabbi Aaron to give one or two of my personal anecdotes, which I'm very happy to do. It's something that happened not to me, but to one of my colleagues, another Lord Lieutenant, who was showing Her Majesty around a rather small building on a very hot day. They got in the lift, which was a very small lift, and the lift broke down. And there was Her Majesty, her personal protection officer, her lady-in-waiting, and the Lord Lieutenant. And the Lord Lieutenant started to perspire profusely. Now, as you will note, we normally wear a shirt underneath, but when it's really hot, we can get away with a T-shirt. And Her Majesty said, "Lord Lieutenant, you have my permission to remove your jacket." And he said, "No, ma'am, thank you, I won't." And what she didn't know was that he was wearing a T-shirt that his daughter had given him, which said, "I'm an old git." Now, I think Her Majesty would have laughed her head off. So surely, Your Majesty, you are a queen for a time such as this. Thank you.